Former UFC lightweight champion Khabib Nurmagomedov has just opened up about why he banned alcohol and betting partnerships at his promotion Eagle FC. The undefeated fighter even thinks that some promotions only exist because of these two partnerships. And since we're talking about the Eagle, did you know that Tony Ferguson just called him a fathead on Twitter? He even took some swipes at the notorious Conor McGregor. Keep watching this video for more on both stories. First up, a true visionary. Khabib Nurmagomedov is a man on a mission. The former UFC champion has achieved what other fighters can't even imagine. Not only did he dominate an entire division of fighters, but he went undefeated in his professional MMA career. But it doesn't end there. After conquering the fight game, the Eagle always wanted to run his own fighting promotion. So after announcing his retirement from the sport, Khabib bought the Guerrilla Fighting Championship for a cool $1 million and renamed it to Eagle FC. And we're not sure if you've noticed, but see how Eagle FC is not partnered with any alcohol or betting company? Well, that's because the former lightweight champion is against it and thinks it's responsible for destroying an entire generation of fighters, particularly his generation, because these kinds of things kill our generation. New generation, young guys, and I cannot promote this in my platform. Nurmagomedov is strictly against promoting alcohol or betting at Eagle FC, and the reason is right in front of us. He wants to protect an entire generation of youngsters and fighters by keeping the sport as clean as possible. And his philosophy behind Eagle FC is really simple. It's a place where fighters come to compete. Everything else is irrelevant. Now, don't get us wrong, MMA fighters are normal people like us who enjoy making a lot of money, and the majority of that money often comes from sponsorship deals. But at Eagle FC, only guys hungry to climb their ranks come to compete. They couldn't care less about pushing an alcohol or betting company. Next, it's more than just religion. Before Khabib clarified his position on why Eagle FC has banned alcohol and betting partnerships, a lot of people thought it had something to do with his religious beliefs. The former lightweight champion is a proud Muslim and doesn't drink or gamble. But that's not the reason why he's banned these partnerships. It's actually much more than that. Look at it this way. When a fighting promotion, or any organization for that matter, partners with a company, they often have to promote their products. And if it's an alcohol company, fighters would have to rock a logo on their attire while competing inside the cage. Same with betting companies. Have you noticed how some UFC fighters often share posts about using a particular application for betting on fights? It's a business deal. You have to give something in exchange, and that something is often exposure. The fighting promotion gets some money to push their products or offerings while the companies get advertised to millions of fight fans. But Khabib is against all that. It's pretty clear he wants Eagle FC to just be a fighting promotion and nothing else. He only wants dedicated and committed fighters to join the club. So yeah, despite a lot of people calling it a religious clash, the 34-year-old just wants to keep his promotion clean and limited to just fighting. It's controversial because some people think sports, alcohol, and betting go hand in hand, and not usually for the fighters, but for the fans. Personally, we think it's fair because if anyone has something against it, they can join a different promotion. Moving on, history with alcohol. We're pretty sure each of you remembers that one time when Khabib and Conor were about to fight each other. It was one of the biggest build-ups in UFC history, with both men going all out to build hype. The press conferences were a banger, with Khabib displaying extreme composure while McGregor continued to talk his trademark trash. On one occasion, the Irishman and Russian were both sharing the stage when the former offered him a shot of proper number 12 whiskey. Khabib politely declined by saying he doesn't drink, but Conor didn't care about that and went on a weird rant about how the Russian is backwards and stiff. Of course, it wasn't as clean since it was McGregor doing all the talking, but you could sort of tell how it messed with Khabib. He's always been Mr. Nice Guy who will answer inside the octagon, but it really got to him when the Irishman called him backward for not having a drink. Nonetheless, karma was served when the Russian finally put McGregor behind him by handing him a beating. If you ask us, we think everyone is entitled to their beliefs as long as it doesn't hurt anyone. If Khabib doesn't drink, then there's nothing wrong with that, since it doesn't affect anyone but him. Calling him backwards for that is a bit too much in our opinion. And for anyone who wants to promote an alcohol or gambling company, there are a lot of fighting promotions in the MMA world that allow it. Following up, the king of Twitter. After breaking his leg in the trilogy fight against the Diamond Dustin Poirier, McGregor has been out of action for more than a year. Well, not exactly out of action, since he's managed to film a Hollywood movie in his time off, but if we're talking about fighting, he hasn't competed since UFC 264. But apart from filming a remake of the famous action movie Roadhouse, what has the Irishman been up to? Easy. Twitter wars. He is super active on Twitter and picks a beef with almost anyone who just so happens to speak his name. McGregor didn't even spare UFC Hall of Famer Michael Bisping and uploaded voice notes threatening to beat him to a pulp and whatnot. Shortly after, he deleted the tweets and played it off as a joke, and we can't exactly blame him since he's always in the headlines. His last couple of years at the UFC haven't exactly been perfect since he's only won one fight in the last 5 or 6 bouts? But even then, some of the top fighters at the promotion continued to call him out in the hopes to get a serious money fight. His most recent Twitter battle involved his old rivals Nate Diaz and Dustin Poirier, and since it was trending on the platform, Tony Ferguson also decided to jump in. He posted a really long tweet with exactly 18 emojis. Yep, we counted them all. 18 emojis. It was a bit hard to understand considering he has a really unique style of writing, but he picked a bone with the Irishman calling him McNugget and McKnacker. Now for Mr. Ali Abdelaziz. After Tony tweeted that, Khabib's former manager, Ali Abdelaziz, thought of it as a great opportunity to throw more shade at the Irishman. Now we're pretty sure that Abdelaziz has bet on McGregor quite a few times since he made it pretty obvious he loves money. Even during Kamaru Usman versus Leon Edwards, Ali was pumped to see the Nigerian winning because not only does he manage the nightmare, but he also bets a lot of cash on him. Days before the fight, Henry Cejudo and Abdelaziz called Edwards easy money, but when the Brit landed those devastating head kicks putting Kamaru to sleep, both of them looked like they saw ghosts. But yeah, the point of telling you all that is when Conor was about to take on Khabib, Ali Abdelaziz had all his money on Khabib. So when they called him a McNugget and McKnacker on Twitter, Abdelaziz joined in by tweeting how Dustin owns the Irishman. Maybe he was expecting a funny response out of El Cucuy or something, but that didn't really happen since he decided to take a swipe at Khabib. Ferguson replied by writing how he owns Ali's former fighter Khabib Nurmagomedov. His exact words were, "I own Fathead, champ," and we know that's for the Russians since he's called him Fathead on multiple occasions. Despite countless attempts to fix a fight, Khabib and Tony have never been able to battle it out inside the octagon. One of them always pulled out because God knows what reason, and that's exactly what we're going to talk about next. Up next, just a war of words. We're sad that a fight between Tony and Khabib could never materialize. Uncle Dana tried his absolute best to get the two men inside the cage, but it just never worked out. The first time around, Nurmagomedov had to pull out because of a broken rib, and the next time the UFC tried to schedule a fight, Ferguson didn't get medical clearance. And about 2 years back, Dana said that the last time they matched the two fighters, it couldn't happen because of the coronavirus pandemic restrictions. It would have been a really good fight, to say the least. And while our money would have been on the former lightweight champion, their rivalry is nothing but a war of words now. But here's something really interesting. Khabib retired undefeated back in 2020, while Tony is still an active fighter. The only difference? El Cucuy hasn't won a single fight since 2020. Last but not least, time to hang up the gloves? We have nothing against Tony Ferguson, but we seriously think he needs to hang up the gloves now. He's 38 years old now, and like we just said, he hasn't won a single fight since 2020. Some of his defeats inside the cage have been absolutely barbaric. Tony literally folded in his fight against Chandler when his opponent landed a brutal kick straight to his chin, shutting the lights off and putting El Cucuy to bed. And how can we forget that legendary matchup against Justin Gaethje? Was it an interesting fight? 100%. But did Tony get his backside handed to him? Yep, he's just doing more damage to his body, and we think it's time he left the promotion for maybe something like exhibition boxing. You know, the usual game. Fight a YouTuber, make millions, and retire in peace. We have nothing against Tony, and he's been a treat to watch, but it hurts to see him get thrashed now every time he steps inside the octagon. That's it from our side, folks. So what do you think? Is Khabib Nurmagomedov's reason for banning partnerships with alcohol and gambling companies legit? Let us know in the comments below. Remember, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more interesting videos in the future. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.